And now for our feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice and driven by Stokes Volkswagen, live, loud, and online, and here until 2 o'clock this afternoon. JB and Darren, make sure you follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB, and at Darren Goldwater. The Share Healthcare chat lines are open. Aaron and Craig are in. 843-321-8893 if you'd like to text. If you're out and about and you're listening and you just want to pop us a note, do that. Darren can make that happen for you. And then always, if you're in YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever, if they're up and running, you can send us a note there as well, and Darren can make you a part of our program. Speaking of our program, a lot to get to today. It's a jam-packed 1 o'clock hour, back-to-back with Perry Orth and Mike Uva now with Gamecock Central. Those tuning in saying, well, what about JC? Yeah, JC's under the weather today. Hopefully he'll be set to go on Friday as part of the big Gamecock preview show here at 1 o'clock on JB and Goldwater. But we found out about an hour and a half ago he is not feeling it. So we're going to plug in a couple of our dear friends. Perry generally on Mondays with us anyways, and Mike pops in from time to time. And he's got a new gig. He's probably excited about the Red Sox victory last night. We're going to talk about that here in just a few minutes as well. Look at the rest of the playoff schedule. There's other news out of New England in the NFL, and it happens to pertain to a guy that used to play his football here in the Palmetto State. We'll get to that. Dan Patrick had some interesting notes to pass along today in the college football world. We're going to discuss that as well. There's another match to be played in golf. Yep. The coordinators are going to be speaking up in Columbia in just a little bit, so anything that comes from Marcus Satterfield, Pete Limbo, or Clayton White, we'll make sure that we get that along to you here as well. MotleyRice.com, causes not just cases, headquartered in the Low Country. Motley Rice, they've never forgotten their local roots. If you or someone you know has been impacted by Takata airbags or medical devices or whatever it may be, they're lead litigators on many of the large cases that we've seen in America over the last few decades. Head to MotleyRice.com for more information on that to see how you can help your family and your friends. Without going any further, though, good afternoon to Darren Goldwater.
I feel like I should thank, the Red Sox, potentially the Dodgers, or I guess the Cardinals, even though Lester's probably not going to throw tonight. The Nationals are all over the postseason. They're just not wearing national jerseys anymore. So I was pumped for Schwarber. I'm looking forward to seeing Max Scherzer. There was a great Twitter handle that I don't think is still active. It's the Church of Scherzer. It was a Nationals fan running the Church of Scherzer. And then every time he'd post something, he would hashtag it K-Men. I don't know if that exists anymore, but shout out to him, and let's hope Max Scherzer deals again tonight against St. Louis for all the Nationals who feel bad that they're not in it.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. So the Nats are in the postseason is what you're saying.
Yes. At least some of the former ones are. The new ones, you just don't even know their names.
Well, it was a good night. I'm going to get to baseball in a minute because I have a lot I want to talk about in that game.
Yeah.
Carolina fans, listen up closely. Anybody remember 2009 in Knoxville? Aaron, I just saw you're going to Knoxville. I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute. Tennessee is going to roll out black uniforms versus the Gamecocks on Saturday. They last did that on Halloween in 2009 on a rainy night. I was there. It was cold. It was rainy. It was a long day, and Lane Kiffin was the head coach of the Vols, and they beat South Carolina 29-7. Hopefully history does not repeat itself there, but Tennessee has decided they're going to forego the burnt orange and go right into black against the Gamecocks. So there's your uniform update for those interested and for those that want to bring back spicy memories of Rocky Top about 12 years ago. Aaron just scored a good deal on 4 tickets and a parking pass to Neyland this weekend. Super stoked. All right. Allow me to give you some advice. This is my favorite trip in the SEC. I love going to Knoxville. I've been up there for wins. I've been up there for losses. I know everybody's always going to have a story about where they've gone and other ballparks they've visited. For Carolina fans and Clemson fans and whatever team you pull for, you always like to think that your home experience is the best and you have the best fans in the world and this, that, and the other. I know a lot of people that have been to Columbia and they say they've been treated like crap. And then a lot of people that have been to Columbia and say they've been treated amazingly. And everybody has the same story about everywhere. I have been I'm 5 for 5 in Knoxville. I've been treated wonderfully every single time. It's a beautiful drive. And I certainly hope that, Aaron, that you have a good time. I don't know where your parking pass is. If you can make it down to see Calhoun's right there on the river, it's a really neat scene. The Vol Navy is really cool. We've tailgated down there plenty of times. We've also parked, I don't know, again, you've got a parking pass, but we've also parked up on Cumberland Street. There's some lots up there. Cumberland Street has like all the bars and restaurants. And we've just made our way down the street to different bars. And then you kind of come over this hill and you look down and all of a sudden there's the stadium. It's actually really cool. You're looking from the top down, you walk down into Neyland, and you get to go hang out. So hope you have a good trip, man. It is a good trip, and make sure you probably get there on Friday night. I wouldn't try to jet in on Saturday morning because you just never know. One year there was a rock fall out of the mountains, and it shut down I-40, and people literally had to go around it. Like it was a debacle. So I would try to get up there on Friday night. But I've been to a lot of ballparks, and Darren, I know you've been to a ton of them. I've been to, I think, 8 in the SEC, and I've never had a complaint about Knoxville. I've been to Auburn once. That was a great trip, but I've certainly been other places where I wasn't treated very well. So
Tennessee is one of the, I wouldn't call it bucket list, but it's definitely one I want to see. I haven't been to a ton of the SEC stadiums. I've been to Carolina, obviously, but not a ton of the SEC stadiums. But I've heard nothing but good things about Tennessee. It's a trip I want to make.
I've always enjoyed it. It's a lot better than going to Athens. A lot better. It's a lot better than going to Gainesville. I've been to Tuscaloosa. Kentucky's a good trip, but surprisingly, like, the people up there were incredibly rude. I mean, it was really strange. Yeah, it was I never really expected that, but it was just strange. I think, I don't know. It was one of those, my dad's bigger than your dad type things when both of you suck. You know what I mean? Like, we weren't that good and they weren't that good, but they, you know what I mean? Like, my dad could beat up your dad. Well, okay. That type of mentality. It was really strange. Craig said, Aaron, just don't stand up or you'll lose your seat. He is spot on because it's bad. I hope you don't have an end seat, Aaron, because if you do, you get one cheek to get on that end, and that's it. Because I've sat on the end in Neyland before, and what they did, maybe 20 years ago, somebody might be able to correct me here. They moved the seats closer together. They're literally like 8 inches apart. The little seat stickers are, and you'll get to your row sometimes. If you're there early, you're good. But if you get there, say 10, 15 minutes before kickoff, and you're like, this is my seat, someone's going to go, no, it's not. And you're going to be like, stand up and move over because my seat is right there. And then there's your number. And you got to figure out how to squeeze in between these people. It's really ridiculous. But it is but it is a good trip. And Neyland is neat to see. I think they would probably tell you they need to do some work on it as well. But it is neat to see. It and at night it glows, man. I mean, it lights up the whole skyline. It's really neat to see. But yeah, the seating is pretty bad.
That's the other thing you hear about all the time. When people talk about Knoxville, they talk about the water around the stadium and the atmosphere there and the people there. And oh, by the way, when you're in there, you're not going to fit in your seat. I mean, it's like the common thread of discussion about Tennessee.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just strange. I don't know why they did that, but they get away with it because nobody cares. I see that old Pops Tim Frisbee popped a note in here that says Kentucky is the worst from a player and fan perspective. Definite high school atmosphere and facilities. So Tim, I if you're listening, I don't know when the last time you were there was. They really upgraded the ballpark. I was last there, I think 4 years ago. And it was much different than I'd remembered it. They had done a lot to the stadium, and it was really roomy. Unlike Knoxville, you actually had a seat. Everything was a chair back. Like I actually enjoyed the ballpark. I did not enjoy the people. Like every time Kentucky did something good, these people I'd never even talked to them. They kept turning around and yelling at me. I was like, dude, I don't even know you. Like I literally hadn't said a word. I try to be very respectful on the road. It was really strange, but and I can imagine that from a player like Tim was as well. But all of you that are going, Aaron, if you're sitting up, one more quick story, then let's get to baseball here. But I was there in 2007, and this was the middle of the five. Carolina had gotten to number 6 in the country, lost to Vanderbilt, of course, after beating Kentucky. As a matter of fact, Andre Woodson was the quarterback, and I think they were number 7 in the country. Came into Williams-Brice Stadium. Gamecocks beat them. Carolina rose to number 6, and then lost to Vanderbilt and promptly lost every game the rest of the year. It was great times. And we went to Knoxville, had a chance to win the game, overtime game. There was a fumble. Manuel Cook pretty much could have fallen on the ball, and Carolina would have won, but he was trying to pick it up. I don't really know what happened there. But I sat in that game 2 rows from the top in the end zone where Ryan Suckup missed the 50-yarder to tie it I think it was double overtime. And you are up there. It's like being at Clemson. You are way up there. You're looking straight down. I about wanted to jump off the stadium when he missed that thing because Carolina had so many chances to win it that night, and they didn't do it. So it's up there. It's up there. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a good time, and safe travels. Hopefully you carry some good mojo for the Gamecocks to get a win. Talk about a lot of that today with Perry and Mike, certainly. Speaking of Mike, he's a Red Sox fan. Red Sox last night beat the Yankees 6-2 in Fenway. Is there a better atmosphere in baseball than Fenway Park in the postseason? I mean, come on, let's be serious. Like, so back in 2003, I'm not a bandwagon guy, Darren. Like, I like my teams. I don't pull for who's good. But I caught that Red Sox magic, and then, of course, they ran out, and Grady Little left Pedro in and the whole 9 yards. They got it back the next year, certainly, and ever since then, by the way, Yankees fans, they've won 4 titles since 2004, and Yankees fans have won 1, I think. But that place was awesome. It was awesome. Nathan Eovaldi reminded me of Blake Cooper shoving it up Garrett Cole's rear end. Blake Cooper did that when he was at UCLA back in 2010. Shout out to my man over there at the Citadel. And the play of the game was the relay off of the ball that Stanton almost hit through the monster. And that's why it's the big leagues, Darren, because you get a guy like Stanton who rips one off the wall, and the center fielder picks it up and throws a perfect one-hopper to the relay man, the Bogarts at short, and he throws a dart. They should have never sent Judge. I don't know what they were doing. They had 1 out, but they did.
I'll tell you this.
And he was out.
I was texting with a Red Sox fan when that happened, and my initial impression was, what the hell? Why did you send Judge? Then watching the replay again from a couple different angles, I thought it was a good send because it took 2 perfect plays off the wall the throw, and then the relay. So maybe 3, right? Fielding it off the wall, then the 2 throws. I mean, perfect. And they got him by a couple steps because it took perfection to get Judge. And at that point, if he scores, then I don't know how the momentum of that game's changed. So I do, looking back at it, real time, I fully agree. Looking back at it, I thought it was a good send.
Yeah, I disagree with that. The former coach in me says, no. You got one out here. You're about to have runners on second and third with one out. I absolutely would not have sent him. I think that you give it a chance there. You still got 2 more chances to get at least one run in. The problem, the way that I calculate that in my mind is what do you have to gain and what do you have to lose and where are you? Well, you're on the road and what you have to lose is a runner and an out versus what are you gaining? Well, you're gaining a run, but you're still down 3-2. Now, granted, a base hit from there it would potentially tie the game. I understand that, but you have too much to lose in that situation, especially in a 1-game playoff. I just totally thought as soon as they said Judge rounded third, I thought, no way. What are they doing here? And you got the kid, whatever his name is, who they traded for, who's hitting fourth now, Gallo. The Gallo kid coming up, who's I know he's only hitting 200, but he's a 40 home run guy basically, and he could certainly get one out there if needed. The Red Sox weren't going to play in; they're going to play back. So there's a lot of ways to score a run. I thought that was a bad call. Now, to your point, you're right because the pressure is on the execution, not on the guy who's trying to score. The pressure is on making it. There's a lot of things that have to happen. The ball has to be fielded perfectly off the wall. The throw has to be pretty much perfect. It has to be caught by the relay man. That throw has to be perfect, and it has to be caught by the catcher, and then a tag has to be applied without dropping the ball. So 6 things have to happen there, and they all happened, which the odds of that are actually fairly decent in the big leagues as opposed to pretty much any other level of baseball, but I just thought they had way too much to lose.
Well, that is how it played out, but the execution was there. I mean, it absolutely was. How about this note for the Yankees? And this is only a no other team would ever come out with this stat, or Stats and Info would ever look up a stat for any other team. It's now 12 years since the Yankees last made the World Series, which is one of the largest droughts in franchise history. But the fact that you're even getting that stat thrown out tells you how many times they've been there and how many times they've won and how much they expect to be there and expect to win. And that conversation leads right to, all right, how much longer is Boone going to be managing the team?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know Yankees fans are frustrated. I equate Yankees fans to Bama fans. They've earned the right to act that way, which is kind of an entitlement at times. But they've won 26 World Series. I mean, okay. It's fair to I mean, that's what, 1 out of like every 5 that's ever been played. I mean, it's fair to expect them to expect fans to lose it. I mean, at the end of the day, they also won 92 games this year in one of the 2 best divisions in baseball, right? I guess the National League West, maybe the other. I don't know.
It was the best. I mean,
you think it was the best, top to bottom, outside of Baltimore? Baltimore's terrible.
Yeah, the way it finished out. Yes, and plus you throw the Blue Jays into the mix too. I mean, so you've got 2 of them in the wild card. The winner is going to play a third East team. The Blue Jays were right there for the wild card until the last day of the regular season. The West had the Padres, the Giants, and the Dodgers, and the Pods, obviously faded there towards the end. So yeah, the AL East was the best division.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I think those are all good reasons to support that statement. So, I think that Aaron Boone. I mean, you could question decisions by every manager in the big leagues. You want to question decisions, that's fine. But I don't know the ins and outs of the organization at all. But I don't. Who are you going to get? I mean, what are you firing him for? Like, what are you going to accomplish there? You're going to go get somebody. Who are you getting?
If you ask Yankee fans, you're firing him for someone who can get you to a world championship again. I guess that you just laid it out. They're like Bama fans, and rightfully so. You should expect what you've learned that you should expect, which is regular trips to the World Series and a chance to win. I don't know if they're going to make a move on Boone right away, but I know there's grumblings. I know there's an undercurrent of, man, we didn't even make the ALDS, let alone the CS or the World Series.
Yeah.
They're
probably would have had they not run into Boston.
maybe. So last night I was watching I watched predominantly the ESPN2 broadcast, which is the StatCast feed, because I love Jason Benetti doing baseball. Well, and most of the things he would do. I think he's fantastic. And the way that broadcast blends itself was awesome. So that's what I watched. And at one point, Benetti said, Brett Gardner, the ever-present Yankee. And I went immediately to Twitter. And I was like, man, what a damn story, right? Because that's a very true statement. Brett Gardner, the ever-present Yankee. The dude who got cut from the College of Charleston. And now this statement is also true. It's an amazing career.
Yeah, he's I think he wants to try to get one more year in if he can. And he'll come back home here soon. Brett lives up in the Somerville area now and from Holly Hill. And one of the you just think about the all-time greats in New York. Brett Gardner isn't going to enter that conversation. But when you think about the all-time greats and the fact that how many years those guys were Yankees, and the Yankees, they can go buy pretty much anybody they want to whenever they want to. And Brett Gardner has withstood the test of time and talent in New York. I mean, he's been the guy. So obviously he not only do they like him in the lineup, but they also like him in the locker room. And apparently so does everybody else. Yeah, it's an incredible story. It really is. The opportunity he got at the College of Charleston and what he did with it is remarkable. He's not as fast as he used to be. He used to be a quick little booger now, but it is still incredible to even think that to Brett Gardner and how long he's been around. Maybe one more year, maybe one more year for Gardy. We'll see if he reconsiders that in the postseason. Now that the season's over for the Yankees, but whether it's one more year or not, it's been. When you think about all the players that have come from this state over the years and played baseball, professional baseball for as long as they have, I'm not talking about just this generation, not just Smoke and Weeders and those guys, but over time, forever. I mean, Brett Gardner's career it's up there.
He's up there in terms of most consecutive opening day starts. There are a lot of all-time lists. And it's not going to be like most home runs or highest average or any of the sexy stats, but all-time games played, appearances. It's shocking when you go through that list to see how high Brett Gardner is on a lot of those lists and the names he's ahead of on a lot of those lists. I agree. It's not like he's going to have his number retired, I don't think.
No.
But it's been a career, man. It's been a storybook career.
Yeah, it's been incredible. The Share Healthcare chat lines again are open. Jamie says his father plays cards with Brett's dad almost every week. That is really cool. That's fantastic. Awesome. Craig said that Stanton did his home run trot. Yes, he did. And then he got a single out of it. That ball he peppered a couple. He's been wearing out Boston. But he can't do that anymore because they're not playing. The season's over for New York. But yeah, that was a moment. The worst moment of the night was by the Yankees broadcaster, who called that home run trot a home run, and then looked up and said, "Well, now wait a second. What am I not seeing here? He's standing on first." I don't know, Darren.
I'm not sure if he's there. That's the caveat. But first of all, inexcusable. We'll start there. Absolutely, and he's one of the greats.
Yeah,
but I don't know if he's there. A lot of baseball teams have not been traveling their guys for the road games. If not all, haven't been traveling. So I'm not sure if the rules have changed for the postseason. That would be the only thing I'd say. Even still, if he was calling it from the desk I'm sitting at right now, it's not a mistake you can make. It's just,
I mean, he went through the whole thing. Like, it wasn't like, oh, that ball's deep and it's gone. No, it's not. No, we'll have to pop that video on if we can at some point in time for those that haven't seen and heard this. It's out of here. It's gone. Stanton. And 30 seconds later, well, now wait a second here.
That's why I'm leaning towards he wasn't there, and I didn't do any. I'm sure it's all over. I'm sure I can find it, whether or not he was there. My guess is not, because of the way the whole thing went.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Mm-hmm. So, tough night for the Yankees up there, certainly in Boston. But the Red Sox, they do advance tonight at 8:10 on TBS from Dodger Stadium. Adam Wainwright and Max Scherzer will toe the rubber as the Cardinals and the Dodgers will play a wild card game. Dodgers have won 106 games this year, and it comes down to one game that they'll play against the Cardinals tonight, who are the hottest team to finish the regular season pretty much in all of baseball. That'll set up tomorrow. The White Sox and the Astros go in game one of the ALDS at 4:07 on Fox Sports 1. The old undecided is still on the tab for Chicago, but whoever that is will face Lance McCullers from Houston. Again, 4:07 from Minute Maid Park on Fox Sports 1. And then Fox Sports 1 also has the late one at 8:07 as the Sox and the Rays are set to go. Boston is not officially named a starter. Shane McClanahan will get the start for Tampa. And then on Friday, game 2 for White Sox Astros. This is the fun stuff for Major League Baseball postseason fans. All day baseball. Sox Astros at 2 on the MLB Network. Braves and Brewers, game 1 of the NLDS at 4:37 on TBS. From what I understand, I think that Frenchie's calling that game too, as the analyst, Francoeur. So
yes, he is.
Jeff Francoeur, former Brave, of course. Jackie Bradley Jr. will be in the outfield for Milwaukee. So a couple of things to keep an eye on there from our neck of the woods. Charlie Morton and Corbin Burns are going to go in that one. Sox Rays game 2, 7:02 Friday night from Tropicana Field down there in St. Pete. And then the Giants will face whoever wins tonight in game 1 out west at Oracle in San Fran. Can I just make a plea for baseball? And I know that we can't do this, but this is my funny moment of the day before we move on. Can we not play a playoff game in Tampa? The place sucks. Like,
it'll be packed for the playoffs.
Yeah. Of a bunch of people that really don't care about the Rays because they're not there for 162 games.
They're still flirting around with the idea of playing some or half of a season in Canada. That idea is not dead.
That is ridiculously dumb.
Yeah. It's just not dead.
Why aren't they building a new ballpark?
Probably because they don't have the support, generally speaking, anyway, which is why they're flirting. I thought when I first heard the whole Canada thing, and this is months ago, maybe even before this year or last year, that it was more of a power play to say, hey, man, we need a stadium. So then when the article started coming out, maybe last week, 2 weeks ago, that's you're not hearing about it, but it's not a done deal, that it's not happening. I'm thinking, well, maybe they're not getting a stadium. Maybe it's not a power play, and maybe the ownership thinks that's a good idea for some reason. I think it's
stupid.
It makes absolutely no sense.
You already don't have a fan base. You're going to lose it even more. You're going to have that makes literally no sense to me. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish here. You got to create a fan base. You have to generate an atmosphere to get people into your ballpark.
And you know what? The way to do that, right, is winning. And they've won, and they've had deep runs, but it can't stick. So yeah. I don't. It's not the ball. The ballpark is awful. I've been there. It's awful.
It's a dumb.
But it's not the ballpark's problem that people aren't going. The product has consistently been there, and people aren't going, except for Dick Vitale, who goes all the time, and he's the biggest Rays fan in the world. But they don't go until the postseason. So I don't know if it's a fixable problem for them in Tampa
they don't have it
because they're in St. Pete.
And it's right, and it's strange because they have no problems getting people into the Bucks games or the Lightning games. Mm-hmm. And matter of fact, spring training games in that area are pretty packed in baseball. So maybe that's what they need, a spring training ballpark. Just forget it. Just put 7,000 in there and don't worry about the rest of it. All right. Mark says in reference to the Yankees broadcaster, he wasn't there. He's also like 85 years old. Well, none of that's an excuse. I mean, I don't care how old you are. You're in.
Not 80. He's not 85. He's been doing it for a long, long time. He's he's regarded as one of the best. I don't love his style. I don't love his home run calls. I'm not one who jumps aboard on that train. The let's get cheesy and come up with really cute nickname type. Like, I don't like that. But he is. If he's not already in the Hall of Fame, he will be in the Hall of Fame.
Certainly.
But that was a bad moment.
That was bad, man. That was really bad. All right, 12:30 Wednesday afternoon. Still a little murky out there. What crappy weather to get us through this work week. It looks like it's going to be like this for the next couple of days as well. We do have some football to get into here in just a little bit. Dan Patrick with some interesting notes to pass along on his show this morning, so we're going to talk about that. We've also got some golf, and then Perry Orth, Mike Yuva ahead in hour number 2 back-to-back. Plenty of Gamecocks as well to discuss. Marcus Satterfield, Clayton White, Pete Limbo meeting with the media up there today in Columbia, and anything worthwhile to pass along from that standpoint, we are certainly going to do so. But first, we're going to hit a quick timeout, and we'll be right back right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle, and we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And 2 others you probably don't think much about: stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations: Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
Okay, what's going on today, huh? Anything to talk about?
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon. Greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon. Greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon. Greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, 12:35, Wednesday afternoon, October the 6th, the JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, stokesvw.com. Keeping an eye on some of this Marcus Satterfield stuff. We'll get to a couple of those notes in a minute. Speaking of New England, Stephon Gilmore released by the New England Patriots. I don't know where he'll end up, but some are thinking maybe he ends up in Green Bay. Boy, that would be interesting for the Packers. Holy moly, make them much better. He was scheduled to come off the PUP list, I think, after another week or two.
Week 6. Yeah, so 1 or 2 more weeks.
Okay. Yeah. So now the 4-time Pro Bowler is off to the races and finding a new home. Former Gamecock certainly will keep an eye on the future of Stephon Gilmore. Dan Patrick this morning on his program noted some information from sources about the college football playoff, about Arch Manning, the nephew of Peyton Manning and Eli, who is looking for his college home as a quarterback. Talked about Ed Orgeron a little bit, but Dan Patrick said pretty convincingly this morning that in the next couple of weeks, there's going to be a vote held for the future expansion of the college football playoff, and it's going to be 12 teams, according to Dan Patrick. He said he asked his source, what about 8? What about 16? But 12 seemingly is going to be the number moving forward. So obviously, during the last, I'd say, month or so, there's maybe a little less than that. There's been conflicting information out there about why this league might want to do something different, or this commissioner or this president or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, it looks like it's going to circle back to the initial news that we got a couple of months ago, which is if expansion comes, which is very, very likely, that is going to go to a 12-team model.
I don't think it's surprising. I think more of this, I mean, we've heard lots of different rationale, lots of different pieces of logic from various different corners of college football about why the playoff, the discussion about expanding it has stalled. I think more of it is about dollars and TV dollars in particular and the rights holders than it is about the number. So it doesn't shock me that we're going to end up at 12. That seems, I mean, if they were able to come to that when everyone was sitting at the table before everyone knew about Texas, Oklahoma, it's not shocking that we're going to circle back around. Plus everything you heard from these conversations was 12 and 8, but there's not a ton of support for 8. The big question for me is, does this happen before the ESPN contract runs out? If it does, is ESPN given the sole negotiating right, and when it expands, it's only ESPN? Or my guess is one of two things. It's either going to expand after that deal is done so that another network or networks can get in on it, or possibly ESPN says, you know what, we'll allow for this expansion. It can happen sooner because maybe they'll end up getting a little bit more money, even with somebody else coming on board. But I think you can expect another television partner in it.
Probably. And though, I mean, the way that it's trending, if it's going anywhere, I'm almost assuming that's going to be Fox. I mean, CBS is kind of washing their hands clean. There's no indications that NBC wants to pop in. Who's left?
Yes.
I mean, that's it, right? So, yeah. I mean, ESPN's owned by ABC. Obviously, ABC is going to be utilized in this. So, or ABC, ESPN, Disney, that group there. So, if it goes anywhere, I can't imagine that it's going anywhere but Fox, as they've tried to continue to ramp up their college football coverage, which I get another chance to this weekend with the Red River rivalry. Is that game on Fox?
I think that game's on Fox. There's another game that's on Fox that's a little bit bigger than that one, and that one kicks off at 4 in Iowa.
Yeah. I was getting to that, but I thought that that they would lead. They were leading into that, right? With
I think Texas Oklahoma is the noon game.
No, it's on ABC.
Oh, is it? Is it the night game?
No, it's at noon, but it's on ABC, which means that's probably why the game day crew picked it over Iowa and Penn State, which I thought for sure they were going to go to Iowa and Penn State. But I'm kind of assuming that Kirk Herbstreit's just going to call that game right there at noon.
That's what he did last week with the Georgia game. So he in fact, very rare that it happens, even when they're on site. He got up to that booth late. Game day ran a little late doing their picks because they ran up against the national anthem. They were in the stadium. So they had to stop because the anthem's playing behind them. And then Fowler eventually starts the broadcast and Herbstreit's not up there. So it was a good example of, and I think a lot of people wouldn't even catch it, but a good example of how live television broadcast can kind of adjust on the fly.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely a different game day. They moved the show into the stadium and yada, yada, yada. But that's where they're going to be this week. It is a big week. We're going to peek at college football here in just a little bit as well. More major matchups ahead. But in addition to that news, though, Darren, you also had Dan Patrick this morning stating that it appears Alabama is the front runner for Arch Manning. Clemson is in the game for Arch Manning. Who am I missing? Somebody else. Is it Ole Miss?
Texas.
Texas and Steve Sarkisian. It looks like those might be the top 3 programs for quarterback Arch Manning, and not LSU. And I this is a really strange conversation to have, because Dan Patrick says that his sources say that Ed Orgeron, who, by the way, Derek Stingley is now out maybe for the rest of the year with foot surgery, which was announced this morning. Ed Orgeron may be shown the door. Mm-hmm. All right. They weren't particularly good last year, especially coming off a national championship season. They're not off to a hot start this year. They're staring at another loss in the face this week against Kentucky. And then that doesn't sit well for LSU fans, dating all the way back to that Hail Mary that happened up there years ago after Kentucky thought they won the game, and then the LSU threw that Hail Mary. And there's some history in this thing. And Kentucky might very well beat them. And right now they're pretty much favored to do so. Okay. So but what I find interesting about this conversation that Dan Patrick had on his show is that there are those calling for Ed Orgeron's head, not just based on performance, but wanting to put a head coach in that seat who can get in the door of Arch Manning. I don't agree with that. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with firing Ed Orgeron or whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about why are you only wanting to hire a coach who can get you Arch Manning? Is it because you think he's the best quarterback since sliced bread? Is it because you want the Manning family and the PR that comes with it? Because, I mean, Darren, you can't do that. Like, you got to hire a guy who's the right guy for your program. He might not be the right guy for one player, even though it could be a game changer in Arch Manning. Let's not go on last name alone here. Let's just talk about whether it's a game changer or not in a quarterback. And then you also have this thing that they call the transfer portal. And we've watched it work. Oh, I don't know. Maybe when they had Joe Burrow transfer in and win a national championship. So I don't really understand why there's anybody in Baton Rouge other than, hey, he's not getting it done, we want to get rid of him. Okay. But, like, we need to get rid of him to hire a guy to be able to recruit Arch Manning. Dude, that is poison. Like, you're literally asking to destroy your football program.
I think it's twofold. You want a coach who can have more success. You want a coach who will take more accountability. You want a coach who's got his guys playing for him on an every weekend basis and giving him everything they've got on an every weekend basis. And it's looking like that is not what's happening down in Baton Rouge. I mean, the number I just put up here in this graphic, the fact they're one game over 500 since they won the national championship in 2019. You could blame the defense last year and the whatever circumstance went into hiring the defensive coordinator that was a bomb. Like, okay, fine. But now you're seeing the same thing this year. LSU fans understandably want to be in the running for Arch Manning. He's a Louisiana guy. It makes all the sense in the world that you'd want to be in the running. And every team wants to be in the running because hopefully, maybe, possibly, he is, the next, let's say, Trevor Lawrence. And when you see the college comparison, I think that's probably the most recent, closest comparison. But if you're going to bring in a guy who can get in the door, you also need a guy who can get in the door and convince the Mannings, you're not only the best fit for me, but we're going to win because I'm going to put stuff around you. And I'm not only going to have talent around you because we have talent around Ed Orgeron right now, and that doesn't seem to matter. We need to have a coach who can come in here and win. So his report was saying, yeah, exactly what you said. Boosters, influential boosters there want a guy who can get on the radar. My question is it too late? Because the 3 schools that are in the lead now have been the 3 schools we've been hearing about mostly for a couple of months now. Clemson for obvious reasons, Alabama for obvious reasons, and Texas he's been enamored with, according to reports, for a couple of months. And that makes sense after watching what Sark did last year, after watching what he's been able to put together ever since that Arkansas loss and a change of quarterback this year. And it's Texas.
Yeah.
That makes sense too. So it feels a little late in the game, even though he's only a junior.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to fool the Mannings. Like that, so some booster that thinks, well, we need to fire this guy and hire a guy who can just go get Arch Manning. Like, the Mannings have been through this process a time or two. They know how it works. They know when someone is Johnny-come-lately or disingenuous. Now, there's another side to that. Certainly, I get it. It might all work out perfectly. They might have a guy in mind who the Mannings would love for their son to play with, but he's just not. And their son or whatever, nephew, son, Arch, let's just call him Arch because that's his name. They would love for Arch to play for, and they would love for Arch to play at LSU. But they don't like the guys that are running the LSU program, and the guy that they do like isn't there. And maybe that guy is the best fit, whoever it is the best fit for LSU, and it just happens to work out to where he's also the best fit for Arch Manning. That would be a perfect case scenario, and I understand that. But anybody in their right mind that thinks that you should just go fire a coach to get in the game with a quarterback, when again, there's this thing out there called the transfer portal that works. Especially when it comes to QBs. We've literally watched this for years now. And literally, and if you think that you're just going to, hey, Peyton, Eli, Manning family, Arch, guess what? We got rid of him. We're hiring this guy. Now come play for us. Dude, they've been through this before. Every tactic in the world has been thrown at the Mannings in their own recruitment and in this one. They're not going to be fooled by anything. So I don't. That to me is ludicrous. I don't understand that, Darren. I do understand. I understand the want to and maybe the need to make a move. If they feel that Ed Orgeron can't bring this thing back together, and at this point in time, it looks like he might not be able to. I don't know. I mean, it just appears there's a lot of different circumstances that are helping this decision for the university, but. Yeah, over one player, I don't care who it is. I really don't. That to me, you don't do that.
I think that's the reason this story and some of this stuff is circulated. Some of it got pushed towards Dan Patrick is because of the undercurrent of LSU's probably going to move on from Orgeron. Whether it's soon, whether it's the end of the year, if this ship doesn't turn around dramatically, the odds are in the favor of Ed Orgeron will not be the coach at LSU. So if that is an assumption, then bring in part 2. Okay, if that's going to happen, the guy we're going to bring in has to be able to get in the door of Arch Manning. And that's a big has to. It's a big ask because anyone wants to. I promise you, James Franklin wants to be on that living room couch. He wants to be in the discussion. So does Brian Kelly. So does Luke Fickell. So does every coach in the country. They want to be in that conversation. They're just not. So it's not as easy to say, we're going to bring in a guy and they're going to, it will be easier for them to fill that job than it will be for Southern Cal. That pick will go first before the Southern Cal pick. But it doesn't mean that guy gets in the door. So it's two different things.
I have a very difficult time believing that Arch Manning, honestly, is going anywhere but Alabama. I mean, seriously, I'm being dead honest here. You know, that nothing against Clemson, nothing against Texas, but the Mannings, they are not dumb. And they know exactly, I mean, the track record, the consistency under Saban, the chance to play at Alabama, none of those other schools, they don't have it. Nobody is Bama. Clemson thought maybe they were Bama for a while. They're not. Bama is Bama, period. So I don't see, and they're also the type guy, they don't think that Arch Manning is going to, They don't think that I'm not trying to speak for the Mannings because I don't know this to be true. I'm just trying to utilize what we know about the Mannings. I don't think that they expect Arch Manning to step on campus anywhere and be the starting quarterback. Like, I think that they have made sure he understands you're going to probably end up at an elite school, and it's going to be your job to learn how to eventually be the starting quarterback and to earn that job. And what is better for that than under Nick Saban in Alabama? I don't know of anything.
There's a reason why Alabama gets all the top recruits or the pick of the litter for the guys that they want. You just laid it out. It's because of the track record of success, and not only success, domination, and in the best league. It crosses my mind. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be a fine NFL quarterback. But watching him struggle a little bit, and then maybe there's some Urban Meyer in there and the team around him. But preparing yourself for the NFL and the SEC is probably better than preparing yourself for the NFL in the ACC when you're going consistently against better teams.
Yeah,
but
Mannings know that. They played in the league. Yeah.
I think that's common knowledge. And by the time Arch Manning gets to Texas or Alabama, Texas is also in the SEC. Yeah. So that I lean Alabama, Texas with zero inside information. I mean, nothing other than the reports that have been consistent. It's Clemson, it's Alabama, and it's Texas that are currently in the lead. And also, he's a junior. He still has this offseason. He still has a senior year. I don't know when he plans to commit. But is there time? Yeah, there's time. But we're at the point now where if it's consistently Clemson, Alabama, Texas, it's probably those three. And it's going to be hard to get in that door and get a seat at the table with those three. Yeah. But I'd lean Texas, Alabama, AB, 1A, 1B. Yeah. And then Clemson not far behind at all.
No, they're in it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if he ended up at Clemson at all. I just don't. I just foresee him ending up at Alabama, just based on what we know and understand at this point in time. Mannings are looking for something consistent. There's nothing more consistent than Alabama. There just isn't. And it, so we'll see. 12:52 on a Wednesday afternoon. Speaking of Alabama and college football, peak to the weekend. It's another good one, as we mentioned earlier. Starting off at noon, Oklahoma and Texas on ABC from the Cotton Bowl, where the Sooners are just 3.5-point favorites. Texas is the home team in that ball game. By the way, should Michigan State be on upset alert at Rutgers, who's 3-2, 0-2 in the Big Ten? Spartans also at noon on the Big Ten Network, only 5.5-point favorites there. In the SEC, a couple of ranked matchups. Arkansas, Ole Miss, noon on ESPN, where the Rebels are 6-point favorites. And Georgia is at Auburn, the Deep South's oldest rivalry, 2-18 there. Dogs 15.5-point favorites in Jordan-Hare Stadium. And the headliner this week is a top 5 matchup between Darren's Nittany Lions and the Hawkeyes of Iowa. Iowa just a 1.5-point favorite at home in that 3-4 matchup on Fox. The over-under 40.5. So everybody's expecting an old Big Ten pound and ground type slobber knocker here. Maybe something, Darren, that ends up 20-17 or somewhere along those lines. And then a couple other notable ones to keep an eye on. Again, LSU is at Kentucky. Bama is at A&M. I don't know that Bama's as much on upset alert as maybe we might have thought they would be 3 weeks ago. A&M is struggling. Bama is not. But CBS has that game at 8 o'clock and that double dip this weekend for their network. And keep an eye, Notre Dame and Virginia Tech. The Irish now have slipped to 14 with that loss to Cincinnati. They've got to go see the Hokies at 7:30 in Lane Stadium up there in Blacksburg on a chilly October night. On the ACC network, the Irish 1-point favorites in the game, but they also could be staring at their second loss of the year, not even to mid-October. So certainly going to keep our eyes on that one. It's a really good slate. We're all aware we're going to talk plenty about Carolina and Tennessee coming up in hour 2, but it's a really good slate again this weekend.
I was at shocker alert. I was at Dog and Duck a little bit after the show yesterday, and a couple of Notre Dame fans were in there. Now, Notre Dame fans have been a little wishy-washy on the year because they haven't been consistent anyway, but there was still a belief amongst the fans that we're Notre Dame. We're better than Cincinnati. Come on, we're Notre Dame. And then they had opportunities in front of them. They were never really put away, even though Cincinnati was clearly the better team. But the feeling now in the fan base is I wouldn't go meltdown mode, but they're a loss away from meltdown mode. I think that's probably fair. Who's going to be at quarterback? Is there going to be consistency there? If Cohn's not healthy, then who? Are you going to keep rotating guys around? And I've seen people already jumping on the Virginia Tech bandwagon here to pick the Hokies in this game. I'm not saying they're wrong. I don't know which way I'm going in this game yet, but it becomes very interesting when you go into Blacksburg off of a loss with questions, traveling, obviously, if you're going into Blacksburg. But we're like 2-3 weeks removed from here's Brian Kelly. Is Notre Dame going to be around in the end? And now it's, oh my God, like we got problems at Notre Dame. And if they lose, those currents are going to be fast, man, and strong.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll pick this game Friday. I think, like always, there's overreaction there. I don't think that Notre Dame has a bunch of problems. I think Cincinnati's pretty good.
I think they're the better team. That's what I said Friday. I said Cincinnati's going to win. They're just the better team. The defense is very, very good. And even though Notre Dame had opportunities, late in the game, they still had opportunities. That defense of Cincinnati ended up winning out, where fans of Notre Dame can have a gripe, a question. I mean, the use of the quarterbacks late in the game was questionable. There wasn't consistency there. So I see what they're saying. It's a good team. There's talent there. Go take care of business and let's see what happens. It's like you said, it's an under the radar, interesting game.
It's also interesting to compare Notre Dame where they are now compared to where they were last year and what they had, what type of leverage they had. The leverage they had last year was, hey, we have an ACC championship game if we get beat somewhere. Don't have that anymore. I mean, you're out of the playoff now with one loss. Like, you can't reprove yourself in a championship game. So if you have two, you might be out of the New Year's Six as well. Notre Dame might be slipping quickly down the ladder, especially if the Big Ten and the SEC keep doing what they're doing, which is dominating the sport of college football. David Smith on Arch Manning here, looking at it. He's looking at a location where he can enroll in January and has an older quarterback on the way out and a strong program. I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that. David, you played at Georgia Tech, right? He played at Georgia Tech?
He did, and he married into a Vols family. And not like a average college football family, like Tennessee flag hangs outside the house of a Georgia Tech player, that type of Vols family.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Like, see him at the pool, and she's in an orange bathing suit type of family.
Fantastic.
Yeah, she's hardcore. She's awesome. Obviously.
Awesome.
Love you, Ash.
When did he play at Georgia Tech?
He was in high school with Ortre Smith, if I remember the story correctly.
Gotcha.
So around
recently.
No, it's farther back. He's younger than me. He's in his 30s.
Yeah. Okay.
He's in his 30s. He's in his mid.
He wasn't in high school with Ortre Smith because
he wasn't. No, that's the wrong.
Wait a second.
Wrong story there.
03-04.
There you go. Yeah, I had the wrong story there.
Okay. Yeah, 03.
It was another Wando player, or potentially Fort Georgia. This is how badly I mixed it up. It was some wrestling story in high school, and whoever the athlete was beat him, and he was bitter.
I'm sure I know who they were. If he was 03-04, we'd probably know a lot of the same.
Oh yeah.
All right, 12:58 Wednesday afternoon. It is time for a timeout. Darren and I have talked our way through hour one, but we're going to let Perry Orth and Mike Uva do the heavy lifting in hour number two. Don't go anywhere. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. We'll be right back. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
people don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and two others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Flamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
All right, final hour on this Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back. The JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes, not just cases. 843-321-8893 if you want to send us a note, or if you want to comment like David and I can't even remember who else now.
Roddy White was the answer, by the way.
Tyler
I knew it was a
answer.
former player in the area, James Island, Roddy White.
Yeah, different era from Otre, no doubt.
A little bit.
But Roddy White was a hell of a football player in high school, college, and, of course, in the NFL. Mike Yuva's ahead about 1:30 this afternoon. But first, our quarterback, who generally joins us on Monday, but this week, we had a worldwide outage. Couldn't get to him. We got to him today. Perry Orth, former quarterback at South Carolina, on the phone lines now. What's up, man?
Nothing, brother. Hope you guys are doing well and back and live on the show. You know, the Facebook meltdown was an interesting deal. I don't know how many times that's happened since Facebook has been up, but I tell you, Mr. Zuckerberg took a punch to the chin on his stock that day, buddy.
Yeah,
but I think he's doing okay.
I remember when Facebook first came out, I was in college, and you could only get on Facebook if you had a college email address at certain schools. They didn't even have it available everywhere yet, and then it slowly started getting there. Now you can. This mouse can get a Facebook account if I wanted to have one. So, anyways,
it's crazy what it's all turned into, but good for them.
Dude,
Beautiful
that's
part
right.
about America, free enterprise.
Yeah.
Same people that made their money based off the backs of capitalism and free enterprise want to take it away. It's a heck of a deal, but we won't get down that road. Here we go.
I saw one stat: 60% of all connected devices in the world have Facebook.
Really?
Oh, it's a heck of a deal.
I'm in the 40%. I do not have Facebook. JB and Goldwater has Facebook. I do not have Facebook. All right, Perry. Let's talk some Gamecock football. Marcus Satterfield did meet with the media today, and we'll lump some of his comments into this conversation here in just a little bit. Some different things this past weekend were shown by the Gamecock offense against Troy, but similar results. Still couldn't put a bunch of points on the board. Another pick six for the defense clearly helped them win the football game. But they just continue to struggle. So through your eyes, what did you see from an offensive standpoint for South Carolina on Saturday?
Well, I will say early they moved the ball well. I like the little up-tempo offense. I think Luke looked awfully comfortable dropping back and throwing it, getting it out of his hand quickly, roll in the pocket. Don't think we pass protected poorly per se. I think that we're not as bad at receiver as some folks made it out to be in the off season. We're really struggling running the ball, and let me tell you guys, when you're not elite in the pass game, and you can't run it, it's going to be tough sledding offensively. I've been on, Jamie, we've been doing radio calls together for 5 years now, and you've heard me use the analogy as a quarterback. It's so difficult to be constantly in 2nd and 10 and 3rd and 8, when you can't run the ball and you're stuck in obvious passing downs. It makes it really, really easy on an opposing defense. And so, we can get into the X's and O's and get fancy, but we have to be able to run the football or we're going to really continue to struggle. And at this point, especially going into a conference game and especially going into a game where it looks like, based off last week, we're going to need to score points to win. And so we should be trying every possible option, whether it's personnel, whether it's play selection, type of run. We better be trying all of it to kind of light a fire,
I totally agree, Perry. I saw somebody earlier this morning pointed out that Tennessee is defensively much better at stopping the run than they are at stopping the pass. They give up a bunch of yards through the air and this, that, and the other. That's all fine and dandy, but to your point, you still have to run the ball. Like, you still have to, even if it is just to set up what you want to do through the air, there still has to be some type of threat that you can run the football. They might stop it, but you still have to be a threat. And right now, Carolina is not a threat.
Yeah, you're exactly right. When you can leave and keep 7-8 guys in coverage and keep 2 high safeties back and play, soft quarters or soft cover 2, and you're not having to put that extra hat into the mix, it makes it easy to stop the pass, and we have to generate some type of momentum running the ball. I talked about it a little yesterday up here in Columbia, and we have been steady on the inside zone and the zone type of blocking offensively, and I think that I'm sure schematically everything makes sense. I know everything Coach Satterfield and his staff are teaching, it makes sense, and it's great coaching and good football, but it's not being executed on Saturdays, and that's just the fact. And so as a coach, you have to kind of readjust, look at kind of the personnel you have, look at the results that are being generated, and say, hey, is this a path that we need to continue to go down? Because here's the thing that we don't know, and I'm not trying to be Mr. Positive Homer here, but we could still be having major mental errors on the offensive line that are really prohibiting that if we can fix, that are fixable and coachable, that are there, or the running backs are not reading their right keys, that could really open up that run game to where, it really is 100% an execution piece and not a play calling or a schematic issue. Then if that's the case, that leads me to believe that we have tremendous hope looking forward for the remainder of the year, because there have been a few runs where we've showed that we can bust it open a little bit, but we haven't been able to do it consistently. So I'm still optimistic that it hasn't clicked yet. running the ball, and that it's not just, hey, listen, we just don't have the guys, and this is who we are. I'm not ready to throw in that towel yet, but after we get through these next couple weeks through Tennessee and Vanderbilt, and I do not know who's after that. Is that A&M that's after?
Yep, A&M.
Yeah, we'll know quickly, and that will give us a big enough sample size to say, you know what we've been doing through the first half of the season ain't working, and we need to hit the reset button and get back to the drawing board.
It's Wednesday. That means you can get a brown bag cheeseburger over there at Dog and Duck, 3 locations on Clemens Ferry Road on Daniel Island, and then 2 in Mount Pleasant Park West and Long Point Road.
Yep.
Hell of a cheeseburger, I might add. Perry.
Yeah, I'll throw in there too. It's a pretty good spot. Monday night they got bingo, man. I got one of my best friends in Mount Pleasant. Highly recommend the Dog and Duck. So there you go.
Free pub.
I've probably been in there when you've been in there, and we just didn't know it. There's a good chance.
Yeah, that's right.
That's awesome.
All right, so last week, Perry, I like to pick your brain as a former quarterback in the SEC. And last week we saw a lot of bootleg out of Luke Doty, and I've done some digging up there, and those are conversations that were had post Kentucky, leading into the game, about how to do a couple of different things. Basically looking at defensive keys that they were seeing and how to kind of move the pocket for Luke, get his legs underneath him, and get some different things going. So, what did you see there? How would you evaluate how that helped South Carolina's offense? Because it was fairly successful. But the main question I have is, how do they utilize – it's on tape now, so Tennessee's going to have to prepare for that. How do they utilize that moving forward to keep trying to move forward the offense?
Well, yeah, it's just another weapon in your bag, of your arsenal. You haven't run the ball well, but Luke showed Saturday that he really likes to throw on the run. He looks very comfortable. And as a quarterback, when you throw on the run and when you have design, bootlegs, as you call it, kind of the fake inside zone and get outside the pocket with a flat route, a shallow cross. I mean, those are the easiest reads in football. If the guy runs down on the apex player, that hook and curl player runs down to cover the flat, you've got that crossing route open, right? Or the outside guy might run a hitch, the inside guy runs. You're getting easy reads that are easy to throw, clear vision. There's no one in front of you. Now you just got to, throw him the football. He's obviously athletic enough and fast enough to get outside of the pocket to do that. And again, you got to understand, Luke had played in a wide open offense that did a lot of that in high school. He's going to be ultra familiar and comfortable doing that because he's done it virtually his whole life. I think it's if we could, I'm telling you, if we could get a little bit of a run game going, those inside, those fake bootlegs, we'll call it, out of the shotgun, you'll start to see those really, really becoming open, the better that we run the football. And here's the other thing too, is that a lot of coaches offensively, it's easier to set up the pass by running the football well, right? You run the ball well, you get that extra hat in the box. Now you're throwing one-on-one. You start, now you're able to throw it all over the yard, and you get easy, simple coverages to beat them. We may have to take an opposite approach. We may have to start out throwing the ball, spreading it around to take a backer out of the box, right? To have, playing on a 5 and a 6-man box where we're blocking truly a hat on a hat. We take that guy out of the box, and now you're going to start seeing those inside zones and those outside zones start hitting, and you crease a couple guys, and now you're out the gate and running. So there might be a difference in philosophy, and I also think that based off of what I saw on Saturday, if we can start hot like we did, we just couldn't put the ball in the end zone, and again, unfortunately, that has to do with the run game. But if we can get the ball in the end zone early in the game and get some confidence, this is part of our issue is that besides Eastern Illinois, which, it's hard to take those guys not that they're not good players, but it's different, completely different comparison. This week was our first half offensive touchdown all year. We got to score early. We got to get a touchdown, not a field. We got to get a touchdown on one of the first 2 drives of the ball game. That way we can prove to ourselves and say, we're on the road. We're in Knoxville. We just scored a touchdown. We scored early. We moved the ball up and down the field on them. We have confidence we're capable of scoring and being a good offense. Because now, the kids are hearing the chatter. The coaches are hearing the chatter. What's wrong with the offense? Why can't we run? You've only scored 1 offensive touchdown against a Division I team in the first half. What's going on? So now everybody starts pressing. They got to get confident, play with some confidence, call the game with some confidence, loosen up, and I hope that will then translate into them executing. And then once you hit the confidence button, then you can take scheme, you can take personnel, you can take some of that stuff out of the equation, because kids will start playing over their head, and ultimately that's what you want to do. You always want to maximize the talent that you have on your roster.
Before we move forward, Perry, I do want to pop this news in here. This is major news from the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers have acquired Stephon Gilmore, former Gamecock corner, and now obviously it's actually in a trade because his rights were still under New England. So he's been acquired by Carolina in exchange for a 2023 6th-round pick. So he's going to be playing at home. He's from Rock Hill, and he's going to be playing opposite of who? J.C. Horn once he's back healthy.
When he's healthy.
Yeah, Gamecocks well represented up there in Charlotte. That is major news for the Panthers.
Good for them.
Yeah, Tampa Tom's got some picks coming his way. All right, and they were former teammates.
They've got tough sledding, but for whatever, he'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Tampa Tom will figure it out, I can assure you.
He'll figure it out. He knows Stephon. They played together, obviously. All right, so as I mentioned, Perry, and I know we got to kind of get you out of here in probably the next few minutes or so, but I would bring you in to learn. So I certainly don't ever want to try to put you in a situation that's uncomfortable, but we hear it, and I say I'm talking about fans, and we as fans also are those who are saying the things that we hear about Marcus Satterfield. How good is he? Does he know how to call plays? Does he know how to utilize personnel? I'm not asking any of those questions of you. What I'm asking is, what that's like. I mean, you were the quarterback at South Carolina under Steve Spurrier, who's one of the greatest minds in the history of the sport, period, the end. He could throw the playbook away in the middle of the second quarter and draw plays in the dirt the rest of the game, and y'all give you a chance to win. I mean, it's amazing. So what is that like, that you know of for Coach Sat? And, they've prepared through the spring, through the summer, through the fall to be one thing. They haven't been able to accomplish much of that. They feel like there's maybe a different mistake this drive, then a different mistake this drive, then a stupid penalty. It's just never fully coming together. There's always something else that's kind of hindering this offense. So, what do you think is going on there, and where his head is in trying to get this sucker corrected?
Well, yeah, I mean, it reminds me a lot of 2016. I got to play for Coach Spurrier, who you're exactly right. And then I played for, and Coach Mangus was kind of cut from the same cloth of that. It was almost that, you could draw plays up on the sideline and go out and run them, and they just seemed to work, and then the next year you go out there with similar personnel and you struggle. I will say, though, that's why I was talking so much on confidence, is that confidence is so big. To go out and score early is like, okay, we can do this, right? Versus scoring a late third quarter touchdown. You're like, golly, it took 3 quarters to score a friggin' touchdown, and we only got 1 quarter left, so it doesn't look like we're getting in the box anymore tonight, And those are real thoughts that you have as an athlete. Like, you don't say that out loud or really maybe even believe it, but the fact that comes into your mind, it plays and it makes an effect on how you play. The other thing with Coach Satterfield is he's obviously knowledgeable. He wouldn't be in this position if he wasn't. He had some really good offenses at Temple when he was calling plays for those guys. Unfortunately, right now, we really don't, and I should have brought this up earlier, we don't have a home run threat. We don't have a throw a hitch route or a out route to Debo and let him break a tackle and take it for 70. We don't. Juju can be explosive, and he has that threat. We haven't seen it in a game as far as breaking an 80-yard run. Josh Van has showed up and emerged as the number one guy. But I'm talking a true explosive playmaker. It is hard, guys. It is hard. I don't care if you're playing Troy or you're playing Tennessee or you're playing Alabama. It is hard to consistently drive up and down the field on teams every single week and every single drive. It's difficult. There are very few teams that average 500 yards of offense in a game. And you're looking at, typically a 75-yard, drive from the 25 going into score. That's how many times you need to do that? 6, 7 times to get to 500. I mean, that's scoring 7 touchdowns. That's 49 points. I mean, it's a difficult thing to do. I mean, the coaches are so smart. The athletes are so good. You got to score and you got to hit home runs. You got to have those 3-play, 70-yard drives where you ran one through a 20-yard completion, then hit a home run over the top. We haven't, from my knowledge, I really haven't even seen us really try to take the top off yet. And I'm not sure if it's just because it's not there or we're just not trying it or what's going on. But we have to get to that because bank it on consistently moving the ball up and down the field each and every week. It's difficult. It's not something that you want to major in for sure.
No. And obviously it hasn't worked. And it's just been an incredible struggle when they're in the, last week, I'm like you, Perry, I liked them between the 20s, and then they couldn't really figure out a way to get it into the end zone. And, reading between the lines here, I mean, Coach Beamer has now said 2 days in a row that, hey, look, they told EJ Jenkins, you need to practice better. And he started practicing better, and he's playing. So I look at a guy like EJ Jenkins, I just wonder, trying to eliminate the NCAA football PlayStation mindset or the Madden mindset of fans who just think you just hit X and O and you're going to get a touchdown. Like is it at a point now maybe where they start to look for better matchups as opposed to trying to continue to run the offense to punch it in? Like, hey, look, that guy's 6'7", the dude that's covering him is 6'1". Just throw the ball to him. That type. I mean, is it that simple?
It can be at times. I mean, down in the red zone when you're on the 5-yard line, but not midfield. It's not just, we're going to grab it and throw to them, because if they're in too high, a safety's going to run over and either impact the play or it's not quite that easy. But yes, the matchups, I completely agree. That was one thing that we did a lot of is, yes, you dive in and you look at the scheme of the other defense, but then you have to look and say, okay, well, geez, let's see here. What matchups are presenting themselves that we can take advantage of? If we motion our tight end from left to right, who's going with them? Well, that linebacker is significantly weaker in coverage. So let's try to exploit that matchup, at least 10 to 15 times, and just see how he handles it, how he plays there. And I think I'll almost bet they're doing it. I'd love to sit in a meeting and kind of diagnose what's going on, because I guarantee you whenever there's something wrong like that, there's typically 1 or 2 issues that really, really, really need to be cleaned up, or there's 1 or 2 things that is really holding the offense back. Like I can tell you in 2016 where we were hurting on offense in the beginning of the year is we were lacking explosive plays. We had Brian was hurt, Debo was hurt, Rico Dowdle was hurt. Our big play home run threats were out. And so having to take not only backups, but guys that weren't super explosive and having to try and move the ball up and down the field on SEC defenses, it's not, like I said, it's not something that you want to major in, right? So
yeah.
I really have faith that they're going to get it right. And I'm hopeful that it'll be this Saturday.
Perry, before we let you run, 2016 was a was a good night for the Gamecocks at Williams-Brice Stadium, taking down the Vols. I think they were at that point in time ranked 18th in the country, but unfortunately, some of those prior years in your tenure, they weren't as much fun. 2014 was a 2-touchdown blown fourth quarter lead in Williams-Brice. 2013, that was that stupid catch that kid made for Tennessee. I still want to slap the ball out of his hands. He shouldn't have never caught it. And then 2015, y'all are making the comeback up there in Knoxville, and you throw one down the middle of the field, and Jarrell catches it, and you think, oh my God, he's running, and he's still running, and we're going to score, and we're going to win this damn thing. And he fumbled the football and lost heartbreakingly. So outside of bringing back those horror stories, what do you remember about playing inside of Neyland?
Yeah, it was a great environment. It was a late afternoon kick, which turned into a night game. It was definitely a nail biter, and losing the way we did was definitely it was heart-wrenching, but it's a great place to play football. I mean, they have great fans up there. They are Pistols, and we'll leave it at that. But it's a great place to play college football, and our guys need to take advantage of it. Use the crowd to their momentum, as motivation, and also confidence. That nothing like, there are very few feelings that I've ever got in my life than getting a third down to a rocking crowd in an away game, and you score a touchdown. You can hear a pin drop in that place. Those are just one of the few moments that I'll be able to take with me the rest of my life, is hearing that. And I hope our guys are able to experience a very similar feeling to that on Saturday.
I remember that 2015 game very well. I was there, and I remember y'all. I don't know what the hell happened in the first half, but nobody could get it going. But then the second half kicked off, and y'all scored 3 touchdowns, and all of a sudden, whoa! Just couldn't get it done there at the end. That was tough, man. That was in it. By the way, that was a hell of a throw you made. You threw for 3 touchdowns that day. It was nice outing, pal. Really well done.
Yeah, there you go. I'll chunk it around a little bit. Yep.
Yeah, Perry. Yeah, could get it going there in the first half, but you know what? Second half came along, thank God. Completed a couple. All right, man. Have a great day. Have a great week. Thank you so much for popping in. And we'll get you back on short rest on Monday, and hopefully recapping a win up there in Knoxville.
No doubt, man. Appreciate you having me. Thanks.
There you go. QB1athletics.com to be trained by Perry or a member of their staff. Perry Orth, former quarterback at South Carolina. Again, check it out. QB1athletics.com. It's Power Hour. Wando Power Equipment on Daniel Island has everything you could possibly dream of to rent. Literally everything. Zero-turn mower, excavator, mini excavator, dump trailers, aerator, whatever. You can rent everything at Wando Power Equipment. You can buy. You can just go in there and talk to them. They love football. You can talk to them about football if you want. Maybe have some coffee or something like that. You can take things to get serviced at Wando Power Equipment, especially if you bought it there. They love servicing things and products that they understand. Wando Power brings folks from all over the low country, all over the Midlands, all over the upstate. I told you not too long ago, a guy came down from Piedmont, South Carolina to purchase at Wando Power Equipment. Beaufort, Georgetown, Myrtle Beach, you name it, that's the place to go. Best prices, best service. Wando Power Equipment, powering the JB and Goldwater show, and Power Hour, which is our second one. We always struggle to get through because Darren and I are tired. All right, we do have Mike Yuva coming up here in just a few minutes, but this is still, just amazing news for the Carolina Panthers with Stephon Gilmore signing. It's number one, they signed a great player out of Rock Hill and a former Gamecock and now a former Patriot. So he's going to, and whenever JC gets back, your starting corners are going to be former Gamecocks. That's kind of coinciding with the message they've been trying to get out up there. We are the Carolinas team for the longest time. The Palmetto State fans really never felt like the Carolina Panthers represented the state of South Carolina. And they've been trying to change that narrative. You've heard it over the last few months. They got a bunch of former Gamecocks. They've had a bunch of Tigers in and out of that program up there. They're building the facility right around in the Indian Land area up there near Rock Hill. So I think there's an extra added message to this, in addition to the fact that, hey, we're going to sign one of the best corners in the sport. and Stephon Gilmore. This is a big deal. This is really, really neat for the Panthers.
I've always kind of chuckled at the Panthers' hope and quest to like conquer South Carolina and claim we're not just Charlotte, we're not just North Carolina, we're both Carolinas. But if there's any possible way to do that and to galvanize South Carolina, it's by putting Gamecocks on your team because that's the majority of the fans. Sorry, Clemson fans, it is true. The majority. I've lived here long enough, 20 years. The majority are Gamecock fans, and it's a bigger pool, and that's a way to do it. Having said that, I know that Gilmore's been one of the better corners in the league for a while. Some of the stats that ESPN tossed out right after this happened, and it happened right before the show, which is why I don't have a graphic ready for it. But some of the numbers were eye-opening. He's one of 3 guys, corners, that have made the Pro Bowl in each of the last 3 years. The percentages of the times he's targeted and the guys who are the intended targets and him preventing that catch through the last couple of years. I mean, it's not just lip service to say he's been one of the best corners out there. The numbers back up the fact that he's been one of the top 2 or 3 corners in the league for a good couple of years now. And I said this a couple of weeks ago. The Panthers are fun to watch. I didn't think they'd go to Dallas and win. They didn't. But they're fun to watch. They're a better team than I thought they were going to be. And this makes them even better.
Oh, yeah. This makes him even better. And he gets to come play at home, right? 15 minutes from where he grew up and an hour from where he played college football. I mean, this is neat. This is a neat story. I meant to tell Perry, if you're listening, sorry, man. I meant to get you while you're on the air. It's National Coaches Day. Perry is a coach at AC Flora. And he, obviously he's a coach with QB1 Athletics. So all the coaches out there celebrating style. It is National Coaches Day. It is also National Walk to School Day, uphill and in the snow both ways. It is National Pumpkin Seed Day. It is National Coffee with a Cop Day. So if you happen to be out and about and you see your local police officers in the store, buy them a cup of coffee. I'm sure they would certainly appreciate that. All right, 1:32 Wednesday afternoon. Final timeout. We're going to hit that now when we return. Mike Yuva, now with Gamecock Central, joins us next on the JB and Goldwater Show. Hopefully, you won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit motleyrice.com for more. motleyrice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan, subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
You listen to the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
All right, 135. Final segment on this pretty dreary Wednesday afternoon here, at least in the low country of South Carolina. The JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice and driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Thanks to our good buddy, Perry Orth, there in that last segment. By the way, before we get to Mike, congratulations to Mike Morgan on his marriage last night. He popped on the air with us yesterday, some six hours before he was set to take his vows with his future bride. That was very kind of an old pal there. So congratulations, everybody. Join me in saying congratulations, Mike Morgan, on your marriage. He'll be back on the air, I think, next week with us, certainly, but back on TV, where he does that TV thing that he does. This guy knows a little bit about TV, but now he's part of the hair club with Wes Mitchell at Gamecocks Central. Mike Uva, the newest member of that team in Columbia, South Carolina. We've been around him a long time, and we're thrilled to have him here on this Wednesday afternoon. Hey, buddy.
Yeah, I'm doing such a great job with adapting to this new lifestyle. I totally forgot about this radio call. I'm like, who the hell's calling me? I'm sitting next to Colin Taylor and Ben Portnoy. As you can hear, the lovely sound effects from right across the street from the fairgrounds at Jay's Corner here. So I'm like, who the hell's calling me? Yeah, so I'm doing a great job. I don't even know what day it is. All right, I'm usually off on Wednesday, so yeah, day 2 is going so well, guys.
I'll tell you what you have done well, because your official title is like digital content something like that, right?
Director of digital content.
There you go. Okay, I was close.
Director makes me feel like the big swinging what at the Cracker Factory.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
So you should. So I noticed that in your Twitter picture that I have now used as the graphic that you can't see because you're on the phone, the microphone has a new logo on it, and it's almost like you were there and had a different microphone in your hand. Well done, Director of Digital Content.
Well, and it would make zero sense why South Carolina was at the national championship, at least right now during the or at least during the Will Muschamp era. I think that was out in San Jose, which to this day I still have no idea why the media center that week was in San Jose when the game was being played out in Santa Clara. But nonetheless, yeah, you picked up on it. See, I like that photo.
That's
I can't believe that photo is going to be 3 years old. Like I've always told myself, like, I'm not going to bash some of my former TV guys, but you see it with TV guys. You probably see it with writers too, like the old columnists, right? They'll keep a picture that's like 20 years ago of them, and it doesn't even look like them. And like you meet them in person, and it's just like, who the hell is that? So I'm still hanging on to this youth of mine. So I'm trying to look as young as possible. People probably think I'm on like 24, 25. I guess that's a compliment. But yeah, we can at least go a couple more years with that photo.
It's as sharp as a tack, man. You just keep on keep it. You haven't aged, so it doesn't matter. I can't do that. Darren loses hair. I get more gray in my beard. We can't do those things. We have to change our photos. So you don't have to worry about that. Well, tell Ben and Colin I said hello. Good luck to you, by the way, because you have the whole Bojangles biscuit thing. Colin has the whole dinosaur chicken nuggets thing. So y'all are going to have to figure out what the official food of Gamecock Central is going to end up being.
Well, I'll say this. I did make the announcement yesterday on one of the radio stations in town. We can't put this out on a digital standpoint yet, so I can't tweet this out. But Bojangles and myself, we have officially partnered. And now we're going to be able to bring Gamecock fans and Bojangles closer than ever before. So I'm very, very excited about that. This is something that has been in the works these last couple of weeks, ever since my departure from Watch Fox, because the thing about it is Watch owned all my exclusive rights. So now that I'm with Gamecock Central, they're at least loosening it up a little bit for me. So I'm going to be able to do things outside of work, which is something I'm grateful for from Gamecock Central. So being able to spread the good word of Bojangles like we've done these last couple of months, but now really taking it to the next level. So if you have hated me tweeting about biscuits and whatnot, now is the time to click unfollow.
A good way to start a new job. If you don't like me, don't follow me.
Shoemaker's going to absolutely love that model. Hey, great. Don't follow me.
Yep. I'm sure Shoemaker and the crowd are thrilled with that one. We'll edit that out for later on. No, I'm just kidding. We won't edit anything. We don't edit anything out here. All right, Mike. Well, congratulations again. I know that I spoke to you personally yesterday, but publicly, congratulations. So thrilled for you joining a team of great people, which is important. It's a great group of people over there at Gamecock Central. It's going to be a great marriage moving forward. We're really happy for you. We're really happy to have you today. Before we get to the Gamecocks, let's go ahead and get some of this New England stuff in, since you're a New Englander. Stephon Gilmore coming home, literally, basically to Charlotte, almost to Rock Thrill, where he's from. And, of course, last night, the Boston Red Sox took down New York in Fenway, which is the greatest atmosphere in postseason baseball, in my opinion. And now they're on to Tampa. I want to get your thoughts there.
Well, let's start with the Red Sox. It was just absolutely incredible to be able to see that happen. First time since 2004 that you had a Red Sox-Yankees one game to decide basically everything, right? You have to go all the way back to that Game 7 in 2004. And then, even though it still gives me nightmares, that 2003 with Aaron Boone and that walk-off against Tim Wakefield in extras. But it was great. And I'll say this, too. Obviously, I love Village Idiot, but what Brian Glenn has created from a culture standpoint over there was special. There was a lot of Red Sox fans, as there usually are. There were Yankee fans. I think they got lost trying to find Danos. They should have gone over there, a bunch of jabronis wearing pinstripes. But it was incredible. It was an absolutely incredible atmosphere. Nothing better than playing New York after the Yankees are eliminated after the game. So it was a lot of fun. And I think with the Red Sox, look, they're going to be up against a team that has done such a great job of being able to just make the most out of what they have. Because when you think from a payroll standpoint, what the Red Sox have, the Yankees have, some of these bigger market teams, obviously from a market standpoint, Tampa's supposed to be big, but Tampa's really not that big in comparison to some of these other markets. I don't want to call it a fake big market, but it's just not the same. So I think with what Tampa's been doing is special. It makes no sense on paper. Red Sox should be able to beat them, but they're making the most out of everything. As far as Gilmore is concerned, I'm not surprised that it happened. This is what Belichick has done over the years. Bring it back locally. Former Lower Richland star, Richard Seymour. They got rid of Richard Seymour when he was still seemed like he was pretty good. I wouldn't say necessarily prime, but he was still pretty good. They got rid of him early. Lawyer Malloy, Ty Law. Vince Wilfork, the list goes on and on. So I'm not surprised, because once you get into the 30s, historically, once you get into the 30s as a defensive back, that is when you begin to deteriorate. And we can look back to 2 years ago, and we know how good Stephon Gilmore was. I get that. But historically, and you think about what Belichick has done in his career, I'm not shocked by it, because that is what his track record is. Does that mean Gilmore won't be successful in Carolina? Absolutely not. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder. He wants to go out there. He wants to get paid. He knows that window is closing, and this could be a huge opportunity for him, whether he's with the Panthers for just this season or next, but to really be able to prove to teams that he's still capable, so he can get that final big-time paycheck.
Well, he's going to get one, and he's going to come home where a lot of people love him, and the Patriots are not going to the postseason. The Panthers are. So good for Stephon Gilmore and coming home. This is going to be awesome. J.C. Horn and Stephon Gilmore eventually starting across from each other. That's mentor and mentee. Holy smokes. Wow.
Unbelievable.
The Panthercocks is what they'll be called. All right. I'm just kidding. Nobody's going to call them the Panthercocks.
I don't think so. It's not going to catch on.
the Gamers, the Gamecocks, Panthers, the Gamers, or the Pancocks.
Carolina Cocks. No, I'll see my way out.
I'm going to go with the Pancocks. The Pancocks. I don't know. Or just call them the Gamers. I'm telling you, Gamers goes. All right. Speaking of Gamers, Carolina's got one this weekend against Tennessee. Tennessee's going gimmicky like they did 12 years ago, but it worked 12 years ago on Halloween night, October 31st, 2009, in a very cold Neyland Stadium. As the rain came down, so did the points, and so did an L for South Carolina, 29-7 in favor of the Vols that night. They're going to do the same thing. Wear black uniforms this week, but this one's going to kick off at noon as opposed to under the lights on Rocky Top. Ortre Smith won't be on the team this week or moving forward. What have you found out about his departure? A Wando high school kid, highly recruited wide receiver, great young man, wonderful family, but he's elected to move on from the Gamecock football program. What have you learned about that?
Well, I think everything that Shane Beamer said yesterday, without going into the specifics, shared exactly what it came down to, which was this was a decision that Ortre felt was best for him at this time, and he's deciding just to move on. And I mean, the fact that Beamer's like, hey, look, if there's any other college out there that Ortre wants to go to, I'll be more than happy to talk to them about him. He's a tremendous young man. He worked his butt off. So I just think it's one of those things that, you know, when you do have a new coaching staff, sometimes things just don't mesh right? I mean, you can be the hardest worker in the world. You can be such a great person, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. And I think, unfortunately, for Ortre, because of some of those injuries that have happened to him in the past, he's always been kind of behind the eight ball. And every time he works his way back up towards, you know, closer towards the top of that depth chart, he just kept falling back down. You know, last year with COVID, that kind of set him back too in terms of just the depth standpoint with not playing. So, you know, I think, unfortunately, it was just time to move on. Sometimes you just need a fresh start. So definitely one of those people that, you know, it's going to be one of those what ifs. What if he didn't have the injuries? What if he was able to just be able to get things going? Because we know the talent that he had. And when he was able to get things going, you know, in just short spurts, he was special to see. Only one reception this year for 15 yards, but, you know, it just didn't pan out. Just didn't work out for him here in South Carolina.
No, certainly wishing the best, and I'm so happy that Beamer was thorough in his comments about Ortre and his future. We'll see where he lands. Maybe he stays here in the state of South Carolina. He'll be an asset to somebody, certainly. So, you know, in that same conversation, though, Mike, according to Shane, he's working at the position that Josh Van and EJ Jenkins are. All right. So you played football. You understand football. I'm trying to figure out why one of those guys is backing up the other one on the depth chart. I get it. You know, they practice all these guys for months. They understand their strengths and their weaknesses, what they can and can't do. But I mean, come on, Mike, let's be honest here, right? EJ Jenkins he's a matchup issue. He's a nightmare of a matchup. Josh Van is your best wide receiver. They're going to have to come up with a better way to get those guys on the field more consistently together.
Oh, no question about it. I think as far as EJ is concerned, I think, and this is my opinion, the difficulty with him is that I feel like they want to use him more as a tight end. You know, he was asked point blank yesterday, what are you? Are you a tight end or are you a receiver? He's like, I'm both. And then Beamer came in and they asked Beamer and he started laughing. He's like, yeah, we're using him as both. The issue is, and I'm actually going to be doing a piece later today on Gamecock Central about zone blocking and why that has been such an issue for South Carolina so far this season. And that's not to make excuses, but it will at least clarify what has been an issue for them. And I mentioned zone blocking because the thing about zone blocking, it's not just with the offensive line and the quarterback, but in terms of communication, it also goes with the tight end. And depending on, I don't want to get too technical and talking about, you know, the responsibilities of the C gap and this and that, but the point being is that tight end position, there's a lot of responsibilities, especially when it comes to zone blocking, that you need to be able to be in sync with the offensive line. So for a guy that has come in here from St. Francis that played the wide receiver position, this is all new to him. I mean, the tight end position in general is just new, but now he's also learning different blocking schemes that he's never been asked in his entire life to do. And not just him, but this offensive line, they've been struggling to pick that up. They've been struggling to be able to be on the same page from a communication standpoint. And that's the reason why South Carolina has struggled to run the football in comparison to last year, despite having 4 of the 5 offensive linemen back this season. So I think more than anything, it is just trying to get him caught up to speed and feeling comfortable about playing that tight end position. Why they don't use him at wide receiver a little bit more, I don't know. That's a great question. Maybe they just feel like he's a better fit at that tight end role for them based on what their needs are. But I think in terms of just why he wasn't out there as much playing tight end is because he was probably just still getting comfortable and caught up in terms of what the responsibilities were and what they're asking him to do from that position.
Mike, you've remember that song, Soldier Boy? Anyways, welcome to the Gamecocks Centrals, Mike Yuva, 150 Wednesday afternoon. All right, so you're in there with the coordinators today as we kind of round out this conversation of offense. Let's all be crystal clear here. Carolina's defense has been pretty darn good, and they could be pretty darn good again this week and give up 21, 24, even 28 points. Might be a pretty good day against the Vols, who seemingly are starting to get it together offensively as expected under Josh Heupel. Problem is they can't score 21 points as an offense. Generally, it takes at least 6 from the defense to get them close to that. So they're going to find a way to score more than that this week. But you're in there talking to Sat today. I know he's asked about the running back rotation. I think specifically he was asked about Zaquandre White, who has the best performance by a tailback so far this season. What did he have to say about that group and how that personnel will be utilized moving forward?
Well, it seems right now Kevin Harris and Juju McDowell, the two guys that have really stood out these last couple of weeks, according to him in practice, and that's why they've been towards the top of the depth chart. And the problem is when you have such a talented group, right? I mean, we can go down the list. You got Juju, you got Kevin Harris, you also have Marshawn Lloyd, you got Zaquandre White. That room is just absolutely full. And, just like in basketball, right? I hate this cliche, but, there's only one ball. So you can only hand the ball off so many times. There's so many guys out there. This isn't going to be Little League. Not everyone's going to get on that bat. So I think the unfortunate part about it is guys are playing well in practice. They're performing well, and that's the only thing that we can really go off of what we're being told right now. And Harris is coming back from that back injury, and he's starting to be himself again. He's starting to feel like himself. And I think there were a couple things too, and I'm going to get into it in terms of all the zone blocking concepts. There's also things that are different this year with this offense compared to last year. A lot of it was more under center. And one of the things that South Carolina has done this year is they're in the shotgun more. And one of the things that I've noticed is that it's more pistol. And this is the reason why I'm explaining all this. When you're offset, when you have the running back to one side of the quarterback, it changes the angle of how they go downfield when they get the ball. So I think there's been so many just little tweaks this season in comparison to how things were done last year. And that's one of the reasons why, outside of just trying to get healthy with Harris, he just took him a little longer to be able to pick things up to get back to that comfort level with this offense. Now, it doesn't help that the offensive line is still trying to figure things out, but it's just those small little minute tweaks that have really set this team back just slightly. But I don't think it's anything that can't be correctable. And that's why I think more so than anything, we are going to see an improvement from the run game. And I think one of the other things, too, that's going to be able to help this offense, and you're going to be able to see more points in the red zone, is that Doty is starting to feel more like himself. I mean, I asked him right after the game. I said, Luke,
good.
I know you get sick and tired of being asked, hey, how you feeling from a percent standpoint? Are you 80%, 90% as you continue to get back to 100? But how much are you actually thinking about that foot when you're out there? Because when you come back from an injury, it's natural. It's so natural to think about that. And what that does is it slows you down because you're thinking. You don't want to be thinking on the field. You just want to be able to react. So he says he's getting closer and closer to not thinking about it, but he still is. He's able to just push that aside. He's not going to be able to use his feet the way that we know that he's capable of doing. I think he's getting back to that point. And as soon as he's able to get back to that point, this offense is going to open up in ways that we just have not seen this season.
And piggyback on that, as one of the coaches up there told me last weekend, getting him on the move with his legs and, quote, recreating the pocket was absolutely necessary. That's why a lot of those bootlegs were working. All right, we're running short on time. Mike, you mentioned, getting in the groove and starting to feel better about yourselves. And this defense feels pretty good about themselves. I think, that they got a big matchup this weekend. Tennessee's going to be clicking. They snap it and go. And I would tell Carolina fans, if I could give you some advice, don't throw the clicker in the first quarter. Tennessee always starts fast. give it time and allow things to adjust a little bit, and let's see where it goes. Maybe they don't ever adjust, and then you can throw whatever you want. Jamar Brown comes in the game last week after R.J. Roderick goes out for targeting and literally had one of the best days that you could possibly have, except for he had a bonehead decision by the officiating crew to overturn an interception, and then he made a bonehead move by dropping the damn football on the 1 yard line after he picked it up and rumbled about 60 yards to the end zone or whatever it was. What were his comments like yesterday when he was asked about that? He was all over national TV with the come on man on ESPN. How has he kind of embraced this moment?
Well, I think more than anything, he's just shown that maturity of being able to handle it. One of the things he just talked about yesterday, he's like, you just have to learn from it. It's unfortunate that it happened, and it could have cost the team. That's one thing that he made sure to point out. But he apologized to his teammates. He apologized to Coach Beamer, and all he can do right now, he said, is that he can just flush it, learn from it, and just move on. So I think it shows just tremendous maturity. And there was comments. We have fun with it with our Mixing of Water take of the week thing that we do on Twitter. And, there was one guy in particular, it was just comment after comment after comment, just saying, this guy needs to be off the team, he's selfish, this and that. It's just like, relax. All right, relax. So I think more than anything, he is going to have a tremendous opportunity to prove himself. Because I've always said this, especially when it comes to football, you're only as good as your next play. My dad would say it to me over and over. He's been coaching for 38 years. You're only as good as your next play. So this young man's going to have an opportunity this week because with R.J. Roderick being out in the first half, right now, Jamar Brown and Jalen Dickerson have been splitting reps at that position. So one of those guys will be starting, but I expect both those guys to be playing a lot in the first half. And if it is Brown, you don't think Brown has a chip on his shoulder right now? You don't think Brown's going out there to try to prove something? Because, he knows that he's been clowned on, and rightfully so, and he gets it. I'll say this other thing, too, that he mentioned yesterday, which I thought was so great to hear from a young man. He's like, when you sign up to play in the SEC, it comes with the territory, the good and the bad. He knows what he signed up for. He said, unfortunately, right now, I'm on that end of it, where people are going to, make jokes and this and that, and I understand that, and that comes with the territory.
I want to read these, and then I'm going to let you go. The guy's name is Robbie Smith. I can say that publicly because it's Twitter, so it's public. Here are his 4 tweets. Brown should find another place to play. He doesn't care about his coach, his teammates, or 60,000 fans in the stadium. He only cares about himself, and he's an idiot. If I'm coaching and I only have 11 healthy players on defense, I'd play with 10 men before I'd let number 8 play another down.
That was my number 1.
Yeah, my daughter is a straight A student, and it'll cost her thousands to go to college. That idiot goes for free, and he probably doesn't think he did wrong. Number 8 should be off the team right now. You cannot succeed if you allow selfishness and stupidity to go unpunished. Number 8 should be released from the program tonight. He would never play another down for me. Well, luckily, this guy doesn't coach. He's probably never played anything. It was a really dumb move by Jamar Brown. We all know that. But that's what's always so great about Twitter is you get the keyboard warriors that can't wait to tell everybody how much they know. And the whole mixing the water thing, generally Mike finds 3 or 4 of these a week. He found 4 from one guy. So this guy is an all-time mixing a water champion.
Mixing a water history. And I do want to say this too before if I'm going to mention mixing a water. We've been selling T-shirts about a week ago, and the proceeds are going to be going to a USC student who died by suicide a month ago, just over a month now. He was the president of fraternity down here. He was just a tremendous young man. His name is James Royal, and the James Royal Memorial Foundation is going to be able to help those who are dealing with mental health. So what we decided to do, spoke with his mother, Liz. We've been raising money. So every time you buy one of those T-shirts, there's actually sweatshirts now, mugs. The proceeds are going directly to that family. And right now we have raised over $4,000. And the family will be coming down here in 2 weeks. I'm very excited to be able to meet the mother and the family. I think it's Mike and Liz. So if you guys have opportunities, you have a couple extra bucks, please head on over to my Twitter page. You can find that link. We're trying to raise some money for a great cause. So, mixing the water is fun. But at the same time, too, we're trying to be able to make a difference, be able to help people in this community.
Absolutely. Wonderful, Mike. I'm so glad you're doing that. There's a horrible tragedy. I knew nothing about it, and we'll be happy to help continue to promote that for you. I'm glad you said that. Wow, that's terrible. Well, Mike, thank you. We really appreciate it. Certainly good stuff. Congratulations on the new gig, man. Really just so proud of you and happy for you. You know that we talk often, and going to try to get up with you next week before the Vanderbilt game or after it. Either way, maybe we'll mix in a bourbon. How about that? And tell Ben and Colin we said hello. I know you're at Jay's Corner. Make sure you don't leave there without eating catfish bites. You know how good they are. So,
they probably ate all my food. They were bringing the food out right when I walked outside.
Oh, dude!
For all the guys to eat.
I'm sorry, man. Well, we owe you a meal.
My fault. That's my fault because, like I said, I don't even know what day it is anymore. And
Wednesday.
You know, well, I know it's Wednesday now, but
October 6th.
I'm sitting right next to hearing all these freaking motorcycles and people that have to let people know they have a great, horsepower in their car. We get it, pal. All right. Fantastic. Get your butt to work or whatever you're doing. I mean, I don't know. Being on the corner of Jay's Corner, doing an interview for a radio show is probably not the ideal spot to do it, but the food's going to taste delicious when I go inside in a minute.
There you go.
Yep. Well, if it's cold, make sure you order some catfish bites to make it hot. Those are delicious. I downed a whole thing of them last week when I was up there. Mike, have a wonderful week, brother. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Appreciate you guys. Take care.
Later, man.
Yes, sir. There you go. Congratulations to Mike Yuba on his move over to Gamecock Central. And that, my friends, is all she wrote. October the 6th, for those in the same boat as Mike, 2021. Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday. Shelton, Cloninger, Blaze, another full day. Looking forward to that, certainly. Have a wonderful Wednesday afternoon. Thanks to Mike Yuva, Perry Orth, Darren Goldwater, and all of you. It's really great to hear from all of you. Hey, Meredith. I missed that one. Hey, Meredith Taylor. Probably the best golfer I've actually ever truly seen. Or that I know. Definitely the best golfer I know. No doubt about that.
I'll be talking to Meredith here in a little bit.
Good.
Helping her out with a little project she's working on.
She is the best. She is the best. See you tomorrow at noon on the JB and Goldwater Show, presented by Motley Rice, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.